it's Romy. Welcome to the channel Aries. This is your January 2021 soul story. So if you have an Aries sun rising or moon, then it is a general reading, but it might resonate for you. And I'd encourage you just to check back in throughout the month and just see how some of these energies that are unfolding may be giving more relevance to the insights that are coming through. So let's take a look, see what is opening up your January reading. Okay, we have the energy of the Five of Wands. And I guess the first thing to acknowledge is that, as we enter into the first part of January, on the 6th of the month, Mars, your ruling planet, is going to be making its way into Taurus. So it's ending a 6-month cycle of it being in your sign. And I really defy any of you to not realize the significance of what you have been through in this last 6 months by way of changing how you perceive yourself and really coming to terms with so many aspects of your own energy and your direction in the world and what motivates you, what inspires you. And, there's just been kind of like a tough taskmaster energy, and that's not even withstanding everything that we already went through in 2020 by way of teaching and the extraordinary cracking open and opening up and shifts and changes energetically. So this cycle really had a lot to teach you, and I think that there is this moment where we need to pause as we enter into this new month of the year, and you may well feel a sense of inner conflict around things. That may translate because there is a desire to want to get moving or to effect change or have an impact or to really put into motion something that you've come to understand about yourself. And yet there may be situations that are precluding that from happening. And so as you are still in that energy of kind of releasing yourself and being able to decide on what the next step is for you, there is a really important note that comes up in your reading about the idea that progress for you needs to be really meaningful. This isn't about just blazing through. This is about really understanding and taking the time to see what is now satisfying you and where you can continue to nurture and cultivate and tend to that satisfaction, which likely means that for many of you there will be some changes in relation to who you spend time with and where you spend your time. And again, that can in and of itself bring up some conflict because there might be that awareness about impending changes, or perhaps you're already experiencing those changes and knowing that that might mean some loss, some distance, some moving away of certain things, of certain people. But there is this sense that something is being created through the month of January for you, Aries, that is very specific to your energy and to help you on your unique path. And it means that you have to follow through with that. So what you've come to terms with or what you've realized about yourself must now be actioned. It must now be honored. It must now be respected. And, it's going to deliver an increase in terms of the way that you feel confident and courageous in your own belief in your own potential and the realization of something. So I think that Five of Wands can actually be really helpful by way of just creating a little bit of friction that from that creates this different approach, this new solution that's going to come through. I do think that some of you may well be dealing with just like really I want to say kind of frustrating, irritating aspects of things that you thought you dealt with, you thought had been tied up and kind of cleared off your to-do list or cleared out of your timeline, and yet they're still kind of hanging around. And there is that energy that it feels quite draining. And I want to just give you a little bit of reassurance because it does feel very temporary, okay? And I think it's also helping to just remind you that the progress that you are going to be making, it's important not to make those rash, impulsive decisions through the month of January just to escape some of what might be causing that kind of conflict around you. The energy of justice coming in, which of course links into the sign of Libra, and it is that polar opposite energy for you. But what it is going to do is it's going to balance out. It's going to balance out your own energy, but it's also going to balance out situations for you through the course of January to really help you to feel like you are making the right choices and you are moving in the right direction. I think you need that reassurance. And if you don't, there may well be those moments through the course of January where you feel like you are really in need of that steady hand or that balancing equilibrium to sort of come in and just remind you what you're focused on and why. The energy of justice as well comes in with a kind of very fated karmic aspect of like delivering back to you what you feel was taken or removed or sort of temporarily put to the side, you know. But there is this quality that comes up through the course of the month about things happening in a very surprising turn of events. So you may see that something comes in much, much sooner than you anticipated or expected it to. And for some of you, that might be something connected on a legal or a more contractual agreement side of things. But there's also this aspect of there may also well be delay or things that are put back. So whichever way you end up experiencing this, do understand that it isn't in any way reflective of you not being on the right path. Sometimes we just have to allow the timelines to shift accordingly, because ultimately they are going to support us in what we need to experience and what we need to feel our way into. So we've got Mercury moving into Aquarius on the 8th at the same time as Venus moves into Capricorn. It allows the conversation to be much more progressive and to be much more future orientated, and also to allow parties to come to the table in a more committed way. So that bodes well from a professional perspective, even if there is a difference of opinions and, you know, having to kind of get through the top layer of ego. I think you can dig down into something that feels much more meaningful to find a way forward. From a personal perspective, this also does want to bring in more balance around things, but there is like a harsh edge, you know, when I'm kind of tuning into this Five of Wands and Justice, there's a little bit of a harsh edge that we need to be mindful and careful of. Now, we approach the new moon in Capricorn that comes in on the 13th, the day after Uranus moves direct in Taurus. Now, whenever these planets station direct or retrograde, they can be incredibly disruptive, and by its very nature, that's what Uranus does anyway. So expect around that mid part of the month that if you are trying to get something moving, trying to get people to see your perspective, or to kind of try and find that midpoint, it might just feel a little bit harsh or a little bit more fractious around then. However, once we settle into the new rhythm, and once you find your rhythm in kind of what this new energy feels like, remembering we're all feeling into what this upgrade into 5D means for us on a deeply personal level. And, you know, you might not experience those symptoms straight away. For some of you, you might be very aware of the shifts and the changes that are taking place. So just following your own path and being true to your guidance is going to be really important through the continuous of this month. So your discernment levels with this energy of justice coming in as a guide need to be really strong, okay? But that new moon in Capricorn, beautiful, nice, earthy energy, helping to bring about the materialization of things that you are really wanting to bring in for yourself, Aries. And the main theme around this is perseverance, okay? There may be aspects of you that feel like, is there a point to this? Is there a reason to keep going with this? And the answer is absolutely yes. The answer is that, you know, there are always going to be challenges that come in that try to distract you or dissuade you or make you doubt yourself. And what you do to actually hone that strength, that bravery, that resilience, and find that courage is you discern and you allow the progress to be meaningful. You don't just power ahead and drain your energy needlessly, but you absolutely keep going. You know, you have powerful support. And actually people that feel like they could be from very different backgrounds. You know, you might find yourself in a situation where, you know, you're needing to draw on new levels of support. You know, like I said, like the aspect of community and what feels like soul family, where you need to discover friendships, people who are really vibing with you. You know, there's going to be a really strong focus around that. And you might find that they're coming from very different areas than you anticipated or expected. But I do see people stepping forward, wanting to help you, wanting to be the ones that can give you that extra ounce of motivation or energy to draw upon just when you need it most, okay? But that Nine of Wands is saying keep going. There's something that you are literally on the edge of accomplishing, of receiving, of moving your way towards. And remember I said that, there's just something really extraordinary I feel is going to emerge at some point this month for you, Aries, that's been created really uniquely for you, and it's going to give you a really important advancement in some aspect of your life. We have this really extraordinary astrological aspect taking place on the 17th where Jupiter will square Uranus. It's the only time it's going to happen in 2021. Of course, Jupiter magnifies and expands everything that it focuses upon, and Uranus, that planet of rebellion, wants to break free, it wants to shock, it wants to bring in sudden but progressive change. And so the energy around that is incredibly extreme, extravagant, and it wants things to happen instantaneously. So that can be amazing in terms of new opportunities, breakthroughs, and almost that miracle solution you were anticipating. But at the same time, it can also lead us down some rabbit holes and feeling like there is a nirvana utopian way out of something rather than doing the work that's required. And so just be mindful of that very anxious, restless energy that's going to be a kind of undercurrent in the second half of the month really strongly. Now you have the energy of the Hierophant coming in here, so there is a much more steady and grounded quality that comes up to support you. And for me, it's really about the way that you have been experiencing things through 2020, that you're very aware, you're very perceptive, and you're very in tune with what is right for you. And so you're not going to be led, you're not going to be beguiled, you're not going to be tricked or hoodwinked into going down a path that isn't right for you. It's very, very important that you trust in what your higher self wants you to believe about where you currently stand at this exact moment in time. And regardless of what you're observing from a physical perspective, trust in what it is that you're feeling. Now again, the Hierophant talks to me about commitment, and there's something about the it's almost like not even from an emotional perspective, because when I'm looking at Justice and Hierophant coming in, and it's almost like I feel like there's some of you that are just trying to get something over the line, and that might be coming in on a professional capacity, and you may well be experiencing some setbacks, some delays, and some uncertainty around that. But I feel like you just need to hang in there. There is a way through this. We can almost see this maze that's coming. And again, this kind of star that's right at the center. But the star is on the wand here as well that he's holding. So you've got it in sight and you're locked into that. And you are being supported, okay? Again, they've got the support on either side here. So I know that you are going to get there. Now, we have a couple of fives showing up here. Of course, 2021 is a 5-year numerology-wise. So it leads to progression, breakthrough, but by way of conflict, strife, and challenge. So there's that kind of fractious energy, but unlike last year, it's almost offering that kind of really invigorated sense of meaningful movement forward, just not that sort of stagnant energy or feeling like you're, at times moving backwards. So there is this sense of something opening up, and I love that we have all of these stars kind of coming, streaming down into the crown chakra here, suggestive of the powerful connection that's been awakened for you as a result of the upgrades that have come through. You just need to give yourself time and space and stillness to feel into what that means to you, We have this really extraordinary sword of truth that's kind of stood in front of her in the Justice card, piercing into the water. So there's something on an emotional level as well that I feel like you're also coming to terms with, and is rising up to be understood by your conscious awareness. That's really important through the month of January, because it's going to absolutely shape what you allow, what you tolerate, what becomes your non-negotiable. And that is impacting on the relationship level, it's impacting on your professional, it's impacting on just the way that you lead your life, So there's some very decisive energies that I see emerging as a result of that, So your Four of Cups right at the center of the reading here. Now she's in a beautiful yogic quiet position here. Now we're illuminating all of her chakras, her power centers here, and I think that this is tremendously important. It's like, what does it take for you to regulate your own energy? The command of your energy has been amplified, and you are getting the opportunity through January to demonstrate that in a numerous different ways, okay? So first of all, it's going to be translated by you being put into situations where you have the opportunity to respond differently, to think differently, to challenge that ego conversation that is trying to trick you into feeling doubtful or scared or fearful or uncertain. Secondly, it's about giving you chance to actually feel much more empowered in a situation where you may be trying to be suppressed, or there is the observation of optics around you that are trying to suppress certain things. And so again, there's this recognition that you are your own guru, you are your best asset right now. You are the person that has the understanding of what is going on within your own energy field. And there's a beautiful sense of quietness and stillness to this. The cup is overflowing around her, and even though her eyes are closed, she's positioned herself right beneath that beautiful waterfall of cascading energy. You know, this is a very peaceful depiction of the Four of Cups, and actually with the frog coming in here is a very healing quality, and we've got these two cranes kind of again standing very protectively around you. So there is this sense of support coming up all through your reading here. So don't feel alone and don't feel isolated, but I do think it is a tremendous sense of the drive to want to feel like you can discover a new community, or feel more part of something, so that you can start to show yourself, reveal yourself, express yourself in a way that you know is going to be tolerated, understood, and even celebrated. And I think that's going to be really important for many of you in all areas of your life, you know. Okay, so the energy of the Magician coming through here. And there's this beautiful suggestion that we have what we need right now to create the next version of something. The next version of something may be, you know, a specific initiative, a project, a creative venture. It might be the next version of what life, you know, looks like, and how you are, you know, making decisions and choices and the changes that you want to effect in your own life. It might be the next version of you know, and the acknowledgement of that. But it does put you firmly in the position of being the one who can create the alchemy, who can create the manifestation of this, you know. And I think it's important, because even though we have all of this support that's coming in around you, ultimately, you know, you're taking accountability and you're showing up for what you know is right for you. And I think that question, is this really right for me? You're going to be asking yourself repeatedly throughout the course of January. And it will make you feel more empowered about making certain decisions, about things to let go of, to release, to close, to shut down, and also where to open up and allow, you know, interesting conversations and storylines to start unfolding without feeling distrustful, you know. But the Magician is coming in with also a need for you to share and to open up and to kind of really give yourself the opportunity to be recognized, and whatever that means to you on a personal level. So if you are seeking love, you know, let them find you, let them get to know you. If you are wanting to see success and advancement in your business, where can they learn about what you do? Are you really displaying it in the right way? You know, if you are seeking community and friendships, what are you doing to tend and to cultivate that? There's something about you putting yourself out there more, and that really bringing in some beautiful rewards for you, even before the end of the month, but certainly helping to set the tone as to how things are going to continue for you moving forth. Now, obviously, that new moon in Capricorn sits on your 10th house of career, and so there could be some really powerful news that comes in and around that time for you. If you are looking perhaps at different opportunities, you might have an important choice to make that comes in around that time. You may feel a bit split in your energy over something. There may even be two options on the table, and you feel like one of them isn't quite right at this time. Something about the timing of something. And remember what I said about something maybe coming in much sooner than you'd expected, or perhaps the delay of something. So that could really impact what this decision or choice is and where you feel you should commit to. But I do have a sense of you feeling a little bit conflicted around some area where there is a choice to make or a decision to arrive at. You know, it's fine to take the outside counsel and influence of people around you, and I think that they can give you a different perspective on things, but ultimately you're the one that's going to have to sit with this decision and realize, you know, what it means to you, not just today but down the line. So just make sure it feels light and expansive. And I think one of the things to consider is really where your light has been falling. What I mean by that is, you know, through the course of the last few weeks and months, particularly in this 6-month cycle that you've been through with Mars in your sign, Where have you felt motivated and inspired to spend your time? You know, what have you been looking at? What has been the aspects online or in the media or with the friendships or the connections that you have returned to over and over and over again? That's where your light is falling. And really what we want to do now is magnify and illuminate that light even further. And so where it feels like home, where it feels like resonance, where it feels like something that you can feel safe and secure to be yourself and to open up more beautifully, you know, it's going to be a really strong validation in terms of the direction that we see you moving towards. So if you do feel conflicted, just think about where the light has been falling for you, okay? This is about soul satisfaction, and part of that is going to be about the soul tribe that you are seeking to have around you. Now, the Six of Cups we've got this beautiful unicorn with the two children and back on the unicorn, and there is something about the need to remember, and I think, you know, there's going to be a lot of reflection in January back to what 2020 delivered. You know, yes, a sense of relief that we've kind of cleared out the heavier aspects of it, and maybe your experience, you know, through 2020 actually brought a lot of joy and a lot of opportunity and expansion. You know, for each and every one of us it was a very different experience, but ultimately we can all feel the impact of the changes, and so there's definitely some reflection going on and a desire and a sincerity to want to return to some aspect of your life. And there may even be a little bit of sadness where you feel like, I can't recapture that, I can't go back to that. And it's okay to process, it's okay to come to terms and to realize that, because everything has changed. And what you haven't yet seen is the true flourishing and blossoming of some of the extraordinary ways in which the new energy is going to be delivering yet. And so there must be this kind of discernment to kind of understand that, you know, the best is yet to come, but we are making our way towards it in many instances. So the other thing that is important to recognize with the Six of Cups as a message is that with this Jupiter square Uranus and this very rash, impulsive drive that we're going to have to make big, bold moves, and you might see that playing out with people doing some really kind of crazy things that are quite out of character. You might well feel the need to just clear everything out, get rid of all traces of the past, close the door, shut the book, and just say, like, I never want to kind of go back there, I never want to look at that, I want to scrap that, I want to start over again. And sometimes that can be helpful because we can clear energy, but other times we're getting rid of things that actually still have real relevance or still have more to tell, still have more to share, still have more to give. And so there's something about something from the past still being relevant, okay? And how that translates for you on an individual level, I think will come to light through the month of January. But just be mindful that you don't get too rash in terms of like clearing out everything and then looking back and thinking, I wished I hadn't been quite so extreme in my approach with that, okay? I think you'll feel conflicted about it though, and that's probably the sign to say maybe just hold on to that a little bit longer, you know. Okay, energy of temperance coming in here. Now we can see two beautiful paths illuminated here. And it does seem to me that there are options on the table. You know, we have justice, we have Two of Swords, and we have this two paths here with temperance. So the decisions that come through in the month of January for you, Aries, are important because they are reflective of the way in which you've changed. It would be very easy to make the choice that feels very old you. And I think that if you can give yourself the time to process, you're going to come to the realization that even though one of these options might not feel it might not sit quite right with you, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that it's different. And different at this moment in time can be really good and really healthy and really cathartic. Now, of course, temperance wants to bring in the energy of moderation, of balance, of finding the right necessary adjustments. And even the magician suggests that there are adjustments that have to happen on your path right now. And perhaps it's only by way of making these adjustments and changes that we actually get that final impetus and motivation to get over the line with something, you know. Trying to continue to do something in the way we've always done it might not work very well through this month of January. Progress does need to be meaningful, remember. Don't just blaze through. There's an opportunity for a kind of reboot and a reset, particularly because we have Mercury going into retrograde at the end of the month on the 30th, right through to the 21st of February. So it can give us that energy of feeling a bit spaced out, but it can also drive that opportunity to reflect and come to a new conclusion about how we want to express something, communicate something. And that's going to be really valuable for you, I think, with some of these more serious energies that are coming through. So I think for some of you there's some big bold changes that are on the horizon, that are going to require some very careful consideration on your part, Aries. So let's take a look and see how these oracle cards are just reflecting your reading. Okay, we have the thinking man. Again, this kind of almost like non-emotional ability to be able to really look at something, from an intuitive perspective, but also a really practical perspective, taking all approaches into consideration and really coming to the understanding of what's going to be right for you. I think this is really going to help you to make sense of something that perhaps you've been struggling with for some time now. He's holding like a 3-pointed crystal here. So I think there are 3 things that need to be taken into account in relation to what you are considering or thinking about. It feels to me that not all of them will initially kind of fall into place, but it feels that as soon as you make the decision and act upon the first one, then very quickly you will see the second and third aspects of this come into harmony for you, okay? So the biggest decision and the biggest aspect is just coming into some sense of acceptance or understanding about the first part of this journey, the first part of this story, yeah? Okay. Okay, we've got the energy of patience. And again, we have the crane, which has been shown up again with the 4 of Cups. So it might be just a really important totem animal energy that you're going to be working with. And it's flying across this full moon here. Now, the full moon is going to be in Leo on the 28th of the month. It lights up that 5th house of romance, creativity, of children. So maybe there's something within those themes that you are needing to be understanding about the timing aspect. Remember what I said, some things will come in much faster, some things will take a little bit longer than initially expected, but there is a surprise aspect to that. So you're kind of already in mid-flight at the moment. So this is not you having to get something off the ground from a standing start. I feel like you've already made progress and headway with it. So keep focused and looking upwards. Understand that you're on this migration right now, just think of it like that. You're kind of traveling south to escape that really cold, harsh winter weather. And so, you know why you're going where you're going. And if it takes the time that it takes, then at each moment along the journey, there's going to be the most exceptional view to take in and the experience to have. And that these birds, when they take their migration, are surrounded by their family, their soul tribe, and that's really what is starting to emerge for you through this month of January as well. You might still be on that journey, but you are going to feel much more supported in it. And certainly if you feel that that isn't starting to show up, I think you will be driven to start to seek it. Take time to breathe out, disseminating moon. Again, this kind of discernment aspect coming through. And, I think that there is this need for the exhale. There is this need to reflect and to realize the journey that you've been through and what it means to you on a really, really deeply personal level. And, it's in coming to terms with that and how you want to make those changes one by one, not all at once. There's always this pressure in January to have it all figured out and all laid out. And it just, if anything, what the year of 2020 showed us is that, we have to kind of break a few of our own rules to kind of reshape and remold things and do it in a better way that's more conducive to us finding a true sense of harmony and balance in our lives, And maybe we haven't arrived at that yet, There's a continuation of the exploration of this, but taking time to actually come to terms with things so that, what you do is meaningful is going to be really important message for you in January. Aries, thank you for joining me. This is a general reading, but I hope you've enjoyed listening and that it continues to make sense as you move through this month. Now, if you'd like to join me for the extended, we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to pull out some additional messages for you. And I would invite you to just think about a question that I might not have answered in this main spread. And we'll pull a couple of cards for the extended right now. You can find a link for the extended readings in the description in the comment section underneath my videos. So let's just go ahead and clarify this main spread. So we begin with Five of Wands, and we've got the energy of Temperance coming through again. Now this does link into Sagittarius, so it might be meaningful for you by way of either a person or a timing event. We have the Three of Swords coming in here. Ace of Wands. There is this energy of completion, of endings and beginnings, and sometimes we have to coexist with these two things, and it can bring about conflict within us. You know, it feels like it's splitting our energy. We've got this King of Swords coming up, which is again almost reflecting this thinking man as well. It's a very strong element of air energy in your reading, which, you know, isn't a surprise as we put our focus on what Aquarius has to teach us with Saturn and Jupiter now moving through the sign, and also us coming into Aquarian energy from the 19th of the month. It's going to help you just to come to terms with things, to let go of disappointments, which I think is going to be so important. So you give yourself permission to actually let in some of the changes that are coming through, even if they don't look like they're positive for you. Here's this community and friendship aspect showing up again for you. So important, I think. Don't hold back, though. Another Hierophant. This is Taurus energy, so that might be relevant for some of you. I've got a lot of water energy going on here. Pisces, Scorpio, Cancerian is also showing up in regards to relationships and connections. Okay, Aries, I'm going to leave it there. If you'd like to join me for the extended, I look forward to continuing this conversation. Otherwise, I wish you beautiful blessings for the month of January. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch up with you next month.